You are powerful beings. You are worthy beyond our ability to describe to you. And you are wanting to be in this sweet spot of creation where you've mixed it up. You've done step one. Life has caused you to ask. And as you've been asking, you have tossed that rocket of desire into this vortex where Source has answered. Step two has happened. Step one has happened. Step two has happened. And now your work is step three. You got to get into the receptive mode. You got to get tuned in so that you receive the feeling of alignment, you see. And then step four is you just get really good at that. You master it. Just get really good at it. Like Esther was that morning. She's not perfect, far from it. But she knows when she's off. And she knows what to do about it. And sometimes she does something about it. And sometimes she has to wait for another good night's sleep and start again the next morning. And then step five is our favorite step for you. Step five is where you're no longer mad at yourself when you're back at step one. Step five is when you accept the perfection of the contrast that keeps producing more in the vortex. Can you imagine what this infinite, intelligent, collective consciousness vortex is that the billions of you have crafted together? Can you imagine what you have asked for and what Source is answering? Can you imagine your individual and collective potential when you get into the receiving mode and you receive from your path of least resistance what's ready for you to understand and hatch? And do you understand that the path of least resistance, by that we mean the path by which Source is able to answer you even though you've thrown resistance all over your path? Source knows your resistant points and guides you around it and over it and under it and through it. Source never says, get rid of all of that resistance or we will tell you nothing anymore. Source just keeps offering and offering and offering and offering and offering another and another and another. You say, I went to the dock and I missed my ship. My ship came in and I wasn't there. And we say, there's another and another and another and another. There's a never-ending stream of guidance and help and clarity and assistance and knowing that is projected and offered to you. But you got to get in the receptive mode. And when you do, then every day is full of these delicious interactions where you get to realize the potential that you have divined from your physical experience. Find a feeling and then notice the number of things in a day that come that represent that feeling. Good feeling or bad feeling. It is so wonderful to be consciously aware that this is coming because of this feeling. And then if you don't like what came, say, I can't change that outcome. I can't move from 100,000 in debt to 100,000 in the black instantaneously, but I do have the ability to change the emotion. I do have the ability to start in a simple enough place that I can find an emotion that feels good, and I do have the knowledge that law of attraction will add the momentum to that, you see. When something doesn't happen and you feel disappointment, something so much better is coming because now you have this impetus with you too. And if you don't get freaked out in this disappointment and hold it off, it'll come fast. Do you believe us when we tell you that you create your own reality? That there is an environment surrounding you of focused, it's not nebulous, it's focused and specific well-being about you, focused toward you. Do you believe that? If we could just find a way of helping you to understand, to visualize, to see, to know this stream of well-being that's focused upon the brilliance and the beauty that is you, focused on you all the time, just looking for a crack of a little bit of resistance for the good to get in. But you're saying, I don't have as much money as I want, or I'm misunderstood all the time. In other words, as you're beating the drums, as you're telling it the way you think that it is, then even though Source never lets up, Source never stops watching for the opportunity. So, do you know you create your own reality? Do you know that it's a vibrational universe? Do you know that things are always working out to you, and the evidence of them working out for you is happening in this moment to the degree that you are soft and compliant and allowing it, and that you are the one that builds the shell around you and makes it a rougher ride than it needs to, but you could soften that shell and it would be a less rough ride. Do you get that? And that what is happening to you has nothing to do with anyone else on the planet, except that you're reacting to the way they're reacting to you and messing up what you're doing with your vibrational reality, that with your vibrational environment. It's a climate. It's an environment. It's a state of being. It's the vibrational beingness that you want to work on. And if we were standing in your physical shoes, we would work on it in these ways. We would go to places that feel good as often as we could. And we would acknowledge that it feels good, and we would try to identify what is it about this place that feels so good. In other words, we would not try to solve issues. And we would not get into debates with people who are trying to solve issues. And we would not talk about problems of others with them, and we would not talk about our own problems with anyone else. We would spend our time looking for that central place that feels good, even if it's something as central and basic as the sun came up this morning and that helped me, and the food keeps growing and that helps all of us, and the world keeps turning because it is right that it does, and source keeps flowing because nothing other than that is natural. And well-being abounds no matter how hard you try to find dark corners of the world. They are small and puny in comparison with the brilliance and the beauty of the world. The well-being is dominant no matter what anybody is focused upon in the moment. That's just a fact of the way that it is. The well-being is dominant. And as you start focusing yourself in those ways, then the details, those winks from the universe, the details, the specific details, will begin flooding into your experience, and you will notice that you have a cadre, a group of non-physical intelligence who understands the specific and intimate details of your desire, who is inspiring you to a path of least resistance, not just for the outcome that you think you want, but for the pleasure of the unfolding along the way. And then you're going to start making these associations. And then something's going to shift for you. It's going to be like a fulcrum shift. It's going to be like a paradigm shift, and it will feel like this. The details of your life will cause you to feel worthy, because suddenly you'll be reacting to the core of what is good rather than to the anomaly that feels bad. When you set aside proving any worthiness, that takes away a lot of responsibility, and you might as well give it up, because there's nobody standing in counsel for that. So no matter how hard you try to show your worthiness, you're not getting any brownie points with anybody, because there's not that kind of thing going on. When you are trying to explain yourself, when you're trying to explain how you got into this place that you really don't want to be, you're practicing the wrong vibrational dynamic, and you're just going to get more of that till after a while, now that you've heard this conversation, you will grow weary of that repetition. And it is our expectation that you will begin to focus in the moment where all of your power is, more deliberately upon things that you can do something about. We would encourage you, as soon as you can get off to yourself and get a piece of paper and something to write with in your hand, that you would begin identifying for yourself what things you really like to do, what feels good when you do it, and what feels good when you think about it. And let that be the thing that you focus upon for as long as it takes for the universe to deliver to you a whole bunch of stuff that's just like that. Because it is our promise to you. If you will take the time to make that list, the universe will deliver to you a whole bunch of stuff that's just like that list. And through that experience, not through the words that we've been offering here today, but through the universal response to your focused understanding, you will prove to yourself that you are the creator of your own reality, and that life is supposed to make as many new decisions in every day as you can. And ask for as many things around those decisions as you can. if you really want to see the universe turn its power on and yield to you in a really strong way. But it has to be things that you're asking for without angst. You can't be desperate for it. You can't be worried about it. It's just those things that you're asking for in non-resistance, and the universe just yields and yields and yields and yields and yields. All of those things were already happening in the vortex. That's not your work. When you ask, it is given, so that's not your work. So the thoughts are turning to things, the vibration is turning to thoughts. So it turned to the thought of a question, and then right behind the question came the answer. If you're in the receiving mode, you can get answers to lots of questions. Other random strangers will walk up to you and give you stock tips. There's all kinds of things that can happen to you. Things that you've been asking about, because they're all around you. The answers and the solutions to everything that you want are all around you, all around you. And your inner being knows where those answers are and puts you in proximity to them. You've just got to be receptive, that's all, which means you just got to be happy, that's all. Which just means you got to be lighthearted, that's all. So whatever your life has caused you to activate in terms of desire, when you're open, the answer not only to the result of all of that desire, but to the delicious unfolding path to all that desire. The larger part of you, who is eternal and who exists eternally, has focused some consciousness into what you know as your physical human beingness. An inner being who's ever present with you, but your inner being. Your inner being has an inner being who 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 has an... Now let's apply law of attraction to this. So all of you who have inner beings, 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 and then law of attraction is gathering together those consciousness that have intention. So this sort of family of teachers is what Esther can feel sometimes. When you ask a question, she can feel this collective consciousness all swoop in, and she can feel the statements that are coming from a broader perspective. Sometimes when you ask a very personal question, she can feel that someone unique to the question that you're asking is stepping forward. In other words, this is infinite intelligence, and law of attraction is at work here. As you stand here in your physical body, everything that has ever come before is, and we're not kidding you at all, focused right here with you. But most of you are too humble and feeling too much insignificance to even allow yourself to expect that all that is could possibly be that interested in little old you and your little old question, because you don't understand the profound nature of this leading edge place and how important it is and how delicious it is for non-physical, with all of that knowing, to find a way for you to know it too, right here and now, you see. Allow yourself to suspend past beliefs or prejudices to receive what your inner being is presenting to you now. And so that requires being new in this moment.